The Superman theory has the world balancing on a needle's edge. What will happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Doomsday Clock, issue number 8, and find out for ourselves, shall we? Alrighty then, so as we join this comic, two major B&Es have just taken place. That's a break and enter for those of you who are unaware. Ozymandias broke into the White House and stole some files. And perhaps even more dastardly, someone ransacked Lois Lane's desk at the Daily Planet. Granted, it's so messy not even Superman could tell that it got broken into, but she's sure it did. Also, nothing got taken, something in fact got left behind, but more on that in a minute. The more pressing matter is what's going on in Russia right now. Firestorm has flown there to duke it out with Posar. This is breaking a ton of international laws for metahumans right now, and because of that, the Russian answer to the Justice League has to get involved at the behest of the president, who is never called Putin, but as we're going to see later in the comic, is clearly 100% Putin. Poor Firestorm ends up getting overwhelmed and dragged down by the crowd. He tries to get them to back off, only he ends up going too far and glassing them. And when I say glassing them, I don't mean that as a fun turn of phrase. I mean he quite literally turns them to glass with his amazing heat powers. This, as you might have guessed, kicks off a major international incident as far as the world is concerned. Thanks to the Superman theory, every superhuman is an agent of the American government. Besides Superman, of course, he's an alien. Clark vows to get to the bottom of this, and first he wants to actually talk to Firestorm, which means find him. He assumes that, like all runaway heroes, he's probably hiding out with Black Adam and Kahndaq. We get what I'm gonna say is an actually pretty hilarious scene where Superman flies to Kahndaq super fast with a bunch of fire in his eyes, only to get stopped up by Giganta, so he stops flying and walks calmly into the Capitol. As we see, Black Adam is actually running one hell of an operation here. He's taken in metahuman refugees from all over the world, people who had nowhere else to go, and here they live in peace with regular people. Adam also swears that he's not hiding Firestorm, but that if Superman is to find him, he should most definitely send him to Kahndaq, where he can live in peace without fear of reprisal. Superman takes umbrage with Black Adam interfering in the affairs of other nations, only for Adam to fire back, "Oh, you mean like you're doing right now?" Ooh, that's a Kahndaq burn right there. Now, hey, what was going on with Lois? It seems that the person who went through her desk also left behind a flash drive. Now, normally I don't go rummaging through strange flash drives that I find, but Lois ends up finding a whole little educational video on the Justice Society of America. World War II era superheroes who fought for truth, justice, and the American way. The only thing is, though, Lois doesn't remember any of these heroes. It's like they never even existed. Eventually, Superman is able to track Firestorm down, and as you might have guessed, he's coming apart at the frickin' seams, doing everything he can to try and reverse the glassing effect. He says that it is possible, and he did do it once before, but to do so puts an amazing amount of strain on him, and when you are essentially a nuclear man, a walking, talking nuclear bomb, you really don't want to strain yourself. Heck, even Dr. Stein, one half of Firestorm, thinks that he should throw in the towel and just give himself up to the authorities. It's Superman, though, who's really supportive of Ronnie, even saying that he's going to stand with him while he tries to reverse it. This faith in Firestorm is ultimately rewarded because he makes it work. Now they're just going to have to sell letting Firestorm fix his damage to the Russian people, which is gonna be rough. Mainly because their leader, President Name Redacted, is already stoking the fires of anti-American sentiment and using the Firestorm attacks in Red Square to try and push for a war with the West. Oh boy, this sure is a far-out comic book fantasy, right? That could never possibly happen in real life. Oh, what's that today? Putin said that he's gonna start making more missiles if America tries to make intermediate missiles? Oh, that's great. Superman uses his status as good-natured defender of the world to take the stage and try and advocate on behalf of Firestorm, saying that he's not a bad guy, he's not an agent of America, he's just a kid with too much power who made a mistake and who wants to fix it. He then also starts going on about how the so-called Superman theory is flawed and a piece of propaganda, meant to alienate and scapegoat the metahuman population. It's right around here Lois and Batman start to take notice. Mainly because, well, if Superman starts taking sides in this whole regular people versus metahuman thing, it won't be good for him, it won't be good for anyone. Superman is right, of course, but in the end it doesn't matter. Firestorm shows up and tries to start turning people back, only for name-redacted president to open fire on him. And from there, everything else pretty much goes downhill. The Russian heroes get involved, a bunch of glass people end up getting smashed, Superman steps on in to try and protect people from the tanks, even though doing so plays directly into the hands of all the warmongers out there. This is all pretty damn bad, right? But at least it can't get any worse. Oh, no, wait, it totally gets worse. Batman radios into Superman and says that guy there is not Firestorm. Right before the nuclear man ends up having himself a huge meltdown and exploding all over Russia in a bright blue Dr. Manhattan-esque light. And it's on that very dour note the comic comes to a close as Ozymandias watches from afar. So that was Doomsday Clock issue number 8, everybody, and even though I think it probably had the least actual connection to what was going on with the Watchmen and all of that stuff, I think this might have been my favorite issue. It was just a super tight, super focused story of what Superman would be like if he was transported into a more Watchmen-esque type of situation. It's also a testament in my mind to the kinds of stories you can tell with Firestorm if only more writers felt motivated to write stories about poor old Firestorm. Also, 8 issues in, I can say the slow burn has finally paid off, and now we're officially off to the races with what's actually happening in Doomsday Clock coming more into view. Ultimately, I'd give this one a very solid 8 out of 10. You know what, the wait times are really hurting this book, but this issue got me back on in a big way.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out some of these other videos I have available from the channel. Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I'm doing next. And hey, did you know, outside just making great weekly comic videos, I'm also on several comic book podcasts, some of which are very popular. There's the Weekly Pull, which the shirt I'm wearing right now. That one goes every other Tuesday. Then there's the Elseworlds Exchange over on the Comic Pop channel. That's every Wednesday around 3 to 5, give or take. And then how could I possibly forget the Comic Multiverse, the show hosted by myself and Matt of Fortress of Solitude. That one goes live on this channel every Wednesday at 8, and also SoundCloud and iTunes later on. Be sure to check out and subscribe to those if you haven't already. I assure you, you won't be mistaken.